So, a couple of weeks ago, my wife Emily, who, as most of you know, is the rabbi for the Aspen Jewish congregation, she asked me to write a piece for the congregation's Elul Insights series on the subject of hope. And as I sat down to write, my thinking initially gravitated toward many of the normal ideas one would expect to see for such a topic. Things will get better, silver linings in a dark time, the positive power of hope, etc. But as I sat there staring at a blank screen, I realized I couldn't write on any of those themes. Instead, what came to the fore was that hope is dangerous. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certainly times when hope can be great. I hope that the sports teams I root for have good seasons, although being a Cincinnati Bengals fan means that hope is pretty certain to be dashed. I hope that we get good snow in the mountains this winter. See, these are things that I have no control over, no matter how much I might try and convince myself that my lucky t-shirt has real power. So all I can do is sit back and hope. And therein lies the danger. Hope implies passivity. It implies that we have no control over the outcome. So when I hear people say that they hope our political and social systems will be more just, or they hope we can get the pandemic under better control, or they hope we can be a kinder and more compassionate society, I say, stop. Hope is not enough. Now is the time for commitment. Now is the time for action. Some may argue that I'm being semantically nitpicky, and maybe I am. And I also recognize that there are many committed people in this country and around the world who have been working on the issues facing society for a very long time. And that for me, to sit here and say, now is the time for commitment and action, when I myself have not lived up to that charge, smacks of entitlement and hubris. But we have learned over and over again that the words we choose matter, and how we speak reflects how we think, and more importantly, how we will or will not act. We've also learned that while we have made progress on many of the challenges facing our society, there is still a very long way to go. So it is not too late to get involved. Every extra voice, every extra will, every extra soul can make a difference. The time for hope has passed, and those of us like me who have, for whatever reason, not been as committed or engaged as we could be, must now collectively and individually rededicate ourselves to the hard, necessary work that lies ahead. Now, I know some of you out there might be thinking, wait a second, isn't hope an important concept in Judaism? In fact, doesn't Hatikva, the national anthem of Israel, mean the hope? Well, yes and yes. But hope has not always served us well, and in fact, Hatikva directs us to a great example of this. For centuries, as Jews wandered throughout the diaspora, suffering from persecution and violence, there was always the hope for a return to Zion, the land of Israel. But since it was believed that only the Messiah could bring the Jews back to the land, that return remained simply a hope. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema beviat HaMashiach ve'af al pi sheyitmamea im kol zeh achake lo b'chol yom sheyavo. I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah, and though he tarry, I will wait daily for his coming. So they waited, and they waited. And while they waited, they continued to be persecuted, beaten, and murdered. Then there emerged a generation of Jews who didn't accept passively waiting for the Messiah, and who believed that it was only through dedication and tireless effort that this dream of a return to the land of Israel could be realized. So they created the movement we know as Zionism, and they struggled, and they sacrificed. They had great successes and terrible failures. But they remained committed, and eventually, through their efforts, made the hope a reality. We now need to channel that same kind of drive and determination. We cannot wait for a Messiah, for some magical solution to the problems that we face. To borrow some Zionist imagery, we too must work the land alongside those who already do. We too must sow those seeds that will grow into the fruits of justice and compassion, with guidance from and in partnership with those communities most affected by the issues we seek to address. We collectively must be the Messiah and work together to usher in a society that truly lives up to our best values. But it is hard. It is hard to look around at the challenges we face and not feel overwhelmed by their magnitude. It is hard to know where to start, or who to talk to, or what to do. So we start by educating ourselves about the issues, about the people who represent us at every level of government, and about the people and organizations doing work that inspires and motivates us. Then we get involved in whatever ways we can, from volunteering for an organization doing work we care about, to canvassing for a candidate we believe in, or even running for office ourselves. And of course, there is the biggest, smallest thing we can do. We can vote. Vote in every election, no matter how big or small. Vote for candidates who actually support causes of justice and do not simply offer lip service. Vote for candidates who encourage and demonstrate compassion for all people. Vote for candidates who acknowledge and understand the depth and breadth of the challenges we face. And when the voting is done, no matter who has won, we must continue to push even harder to ensure that our society and country reflect our highest morals and ideals. As we look to the year ahead, let us shed the passivity inherent in hoping for change. Let us view ourselves in this moment as having not just an opportunity, but an obligation to get involved or stay involved in striving towards that more perfect union. And may 5781 be the year that our need to hope for things to get better begins to dissipate, because we are tangibly, substantively making things better. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shana Tova U'Metuka, a good and sweet year to all, and Shabbat Shalom.